Well, we're talking about music today, and specifically your work with B-Side Records. You were the founder and president, I believe. At the time, did
Correct.
you set it up with anyone else, or was it a solo project?
Solo project.
Nice.
The reason why the name, I know you want to probably ask, but I'll get ahead of you. The reason why the name is B-side record, because the A side always get played. So I said, hey, the jewels are on the B side. All the jewels and all the stuff that you want to look for is usually on the B side. So here's where you had B side records come out.
Right.
I think it's a B side and B side plus. I don't even think I do A side anymore or whatever it was at the time.
How did you? I mean, music is something that everyone's exposed to in some way, throughout their life. But how did you particularly get involved in that, like on the business side? I guess.
As a youth, my grandfather growing up had me in. He's from North Carolina, of course. Growing up in Waterbury, he had me working at a younger age and learning the process of being independent and doing your own thing and working hard. And from there, I grew into a newspaper boy. Did that for a while, then eventually, leave high school, had several businesses, barbershop, beeper, deli store, clothing store. So I was just trying things after things after thing. And, music again has always been into me. So that was kind of a natural transition. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it for myself. So that's what that was.
That's awesome. Do you remember a particular record from your childhood that like stands out, or a record that you bought?
As far as music, I
Yeah,
mean, music
yeah,
has been in my
exactly.
house the whole time. Music has been in my house the whole time. My mother plays music records, father music records all the time. And we had what we call drill team and drum corps back then. In the city, we have a drill team and drum corps. I was always with the drum corps. So the music and the rhythms, even some of the records I've done, transition some of those patterns and beats into the music. So that's was part of it. It was growing up in the community. We had these bands or drum corps, you want to say, and they were always out there. And I happened to be fortunate to be part of it. That's why I was able to come to Canada because I was part of that group.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So you were in like a school band and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was called the Dynamic Imperials at the time. It was not a school band, it's after school community type of thing.
Got it.
No bands, it's basically percussions. No instruments or nothing like that. We had cymbals and maybe some other stuff, but there was nearly no horns and nothing like that stuff.
So you were born and raised in Waterbury, or is that somewhere you moved to?
Born and raised in Waterbury.
What was it like there with music? And it's close to New York, relatively.
Close to New York. I mean, you want to start with the hip hop scene, or you want to go back before the hip hop scene? Because I
Yeah,
was before the
before, please, and then we'll.
before the hip hop scene. It was number one, James Brown. That's the type of music you heard. The James Brown, the Al Greens, and all that stuff. My mother played. Me and Mrs. Jones. I can remember those songs always playing throughout the household. It was that generation. It kind of matured into disco a little bit. You did the disco. You heard of Dinah Summers and that type of stuff. We had the community centers where you can go dance, or we danced in the park. So they would bring the same thing as in New York. They brought the stuff out in the park and they played in the park. And a lot of the time we would have the people from the tri-state up here. A lot of people had family members that were from New York. So we always had the impact of having that, the cassette tapes, whatever was going on in New York, we basically had it here. And it wasn't that it's an hour and a half drive to New York to get there, or less,
Right.
depends on where you're at. So we always had that impact. So we had the disco, and then the hip hop started creeping in. You know, that's when we started going to roller skating, Skate Odyssey, Roller Magic, and the hip hop scene kind of crept in there more, where they got the Grandmaster Flashes to come down, the Cold Crush Brothers. The number one, I will say, in this area that had biggest impact in Waterbury were the Force MCs. They stayed here like it was no tomorrow. So they definitely had a big impact. So that started it. We got to see the Terrible Tees. We got to see the DJ battles, the DJ Mario and the Grand Wizard 303 out of New Haven, Connecticut, with Scotty O, which is, NAACP director. I always see him and messing with that. So that kind of got that scene started, where we were entrenched of seeing the Pumas coming, the Sways, the whole area of the hip hop coming. I seen the whole area come in. So it's in my blood. Got bred it. It was not a second thought. It was there. So
When did you see sort of hip hop as, I guess, I don't know, like a dominant genre?
it to me it's like it was always there. So I never seen the like. I turned on the light. It was always there. in the community, out in the streets, whatever you want to call it. You walked around with the boxes. We did the break dancing. We did the battle, and it was all for free, and it was all fun. Nobody were even thinking about a dime and putting it in their pocket. I mean, you made a couple part. You were better off being a DJ and have a big sound system and throwing a party inside somewhere and making a bunch of money. That was the only time that people thought about money, really. And then any other time, it was just about having a good time.
That's awesome.
It was
That's
having a
cool.
good time. Yeah.
So when did you start thinking about starting B-side?
I'm gonna say it was probably 87, 88 when I started thinking about it, just doing it, as you got more into the music and the battles and stuff were phasing out. But again, got a family now, got to raise the family and do what you want to do. I started the family in 89, and that's when I started saying, hey, well, maybe I can transition it. It took a little while, you bounce around with different people, DJs, rappers, this. Me and Tay Woss always had this connection, and we always said we're going to do something. We're going to do something. And I guess sometimes it's about the perfect timing. So the timing came in. We hooked up together. We put something together, and that's where we had it. Actually, the music and everything was already. We were probably working on it before the B side even came into fruition.
That makes sense. What was your work in music? Were you more of a DJ, producer? Did you rap?
I was a DJ at one time. The rap I really never did. Breakdancing I did. The DJing I did. The producing I did. Tons of records, crates. I did all that. So that's what kind of got it too. But the rapping I really never did or tried for some reason why. I just didn't gravitate to it.
Fair enough.
I want to be with the technology. I like the technology, the turntables and touching it, and like to me the most consistent DJ ever out there to me as far as a group that I think is probably Run DMC. If you ever watch them, their style is actually patterned behind the Cold Crush Brothers, as DMC always would say. And if you see them, that's what they were into. They were into like that battle type of rap. But he was the most consistent DJ because he was always coming on time, break beats. He very seldomly messed up. And I was in the era where we were skipping records and, you had a routine going and falling apart. So I get to see the whole transition thing. But I just want to put on there, he was probably the most consistent DJ as far as a group that I've seen out there. Top level.
Right. So what did you actually need to start the label? Like how does one actually create a record label?
Well, you go, you get it copyright with the government and you do all that good stuff and paperwork and you pay these fees and you research it. And since I was independent and I was more or less a one man show, it became easier where I didn't have to do the corporations, the S corporations, all that. It was going to be part of the next level if I'd have grown there, but because I was a one man show, it was easier for me to do it. In practice, I did it on myself. I didn't need an attorney or anything.
Right. Were there any other people that you hired at that time to help with various roles, or
No,
was it just you?
it was just me at the time.
Okay. So how would you describe the like scouting of artists during that time? I guess the A&R side. How exactly would you do that?
Because I was entrenched with everybody, I knew everybody in the area. Waterbury is kind of close knit. I knew everybody that was basically out there from generations ago. You know who can do what and this, that, and the other. Somebody, excuse me, somebody new that come along, that would be a little bit different. You have to see what they got and what they could deliver. But for the up and up, I think me and Tay Woss decided that we were gonna put something together, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to do the music side. I said, okay, I'll do the business side.
For
That
people
was
who Yeah, for people who don't know, could you explain who Tay Watts is as well?
Tay Woss is Jerry Taylor, also known as Jerry's voice, because the man can actually really sing. And like I said, the Force MCs and D's had a definitely influence on him. He was a childhood friend. We since maybe 10, 11, 12, we grew up together and hung out with each other. And he was from one side of the area and I was from another side, but we always kept a close relationship. And then that drill team came along. We further our bond there. So he was the one that was probably the closest to between him and Mike Force.
Okay. So who did you sign? Who was the first artist that you signed?
Here's the tricky part. I never signed Mad Vibes.
Oh, you didn't. Okay. So
That was the tricky part.
maybe we should talk about the story there.
The story there was I was doing everything, producing, put the record together. I paid for everything. We were in studios. I was doing much everything. Like I said, me and Jerick had a good relationship. Mike, on the other hand, was Jerick's brother. He brought him in. He produced. He produced. He was pretty good, and this, that, and the other. So we got to the point it was time to actually sign. And for some reason, why an issue came about that I wasn't unaware of. We were working with a couple of other artists at the time, and one of the other artists let me know that there was an issue, which I don't want to say right now. I'll tell you later about it. But there was an issue at the time, so actually they never signed anything. That's why we never went forward as far as we went. Uh, Tay Woss always said there was an error, mistake on Mike's side. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was said it kind of got messed up for whatever reason why. I can tell you that. All I know, I was ready, locked and loaded, ready to go forward, and we never contractually put anything in writing to secure what I was doing as well as protect themselves. It was for the benefit of both of us, but I think at the time maybe they were not going to say Tay, but I think maybe Mike was a little bit immature in his thinking in the business side and didn't understand the grasp of the nature of me financing everything and have nothing in writing. Just wasn't going to work. So that's what happened with that.
Okay, that makes sense. Can you talk about the numbers at the time? Like, I think a lot of people underestimate just how much money it actually takes to, especially during that time, to actually create a record.
I'm going to say it's about less than a half. I'll just say it that less than
Okay.
that.
All right.
I was ready to go, and like I said, they just had to put their name. Uh, Tay was my friend, so there was no anybody trying to do that. You hear the stories out there of trying to beat somebody or take somebody's event. It was absolutely none of that. We could have shook our hands and as men of our words and kept moving forward at the time. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and you want something, and they never came to the table. I don't think that's no fault of mine. I just think we didn't even get to the table to discuss what we're gonna do as far as who wants to do what. So they're kind of like, what are we doing? You
Right.
don't even want to discuss what we're doing. So we never even went to the table. It's like some thoughts, some mistakes, or something from that side. They should have came down and said to me as men. I know Tay Woss, like I said, he came to me later and said there was a mistake on his brother's side where he probably didn't, whatever. But even at the point where they believed that there was a whole bunch of money being made, and I'm like, we don't even have a contract. Are we making what? What? Anything we're doing is out of my pocket. So,
Right. And a little bit
right.
more detail on the Mad Vibes record. It was 2 songs, and it was meant to be an EP to, I guess,
It was going to be an album. I mean, I got other songs and tracks and stuff. We were working on stuff. We started collab. We started. They started wanting to collaborate with other folks, which I do have those, which is pretty good and dope. But my focus was let's get us off, let's get them off, and then we'll worry about everybody else.
right.
They were bringing other people. We used the time to collaborate. It didn't make sense to me at the time. I'm glad we did it because I got these other voices in from that era, which one of the guys is actually amazing. But it didn't make sense to me as far as pushing Mad Vibes forward. So that was another thing there.
Do you have the album?
Creativity.
Do you have a
Hmm?
copy of the album?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people really want to listen to it. I mean, the current song, "Riches to Rags." I'll look it up right now. It has over 1 million views on YouTube. I just looked it up. It has 1.3 million views.
Okay, it's pretty good.
That's amazing.
Riches to rags.
Between the time that you think of starting the record label, which is in the late 80s, and the time that Mad Vibes happens, what's going on in between that time? Are you still trying to sign other people? I know you didn't sign any artists, but attempting to, or just kind of networking?
Kind of networking the scene. Still going to traveling around New York, Connecticut, doing stuff. I should be part of the Jack the Rappers back in the days, all that stuff I followed around. So me and my friend Julius, we did a lot of that traveling stuff. He was a DJ too. We were, like I said, we grew up in it, and it was like second nature. You didn't even think about it. Like you said, when did it all start? It's like it was always there. So
Right.
you never seen that. You never seen the switch go on. It was like you just always was there, part of it.
I gotcha. Are there any artists from that time that you wanted to sign or get involved with, but it just didn't work out?
Not really, because the focus was it was going to be local. I was going to do local, stay local, and bring this area of Waterbury, Connecticut, to the forefront again. We had a couple of people in this area, of course, make records. We have Jiggalette. She made Gaines Female Play. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have not, but that shouldn't matter.
Gaines Female Play. Gaines Female Play by Jiggalette. She actually lived across the street from me. Um, she was in the movie Crush Groovin'. You ever heard of the movie Crush Groovin'?
I have not, but the reason I
Come
wanted
on,
to,
you got to take these notes and write it down.
I
Crush
know,
Groovin' was
I'm
Run
I'm trying
DMC.
to learn.
The story of Russell Simmons. She was in that movie. She was playing the girlfriend. So That's what the Waterbury was take off. Plus, we had a few other independent people get out there and do some stuff, but it was always going to be local. I mean, that's how we grew up. We always did the local thing. Waterbury battles New Haven, Hartford, Connecticut versus New York. So it was always that type of thing. You represented from where you was from.
Okay, throw out a few more names. Like who should people from my generation know about and check out?
You got to check out. I'm gonna give him because he's a big artist and everybody knows about him. Is you got to look at DMC, look at his documentaries and stuff he says because he gives a lot of the take that a lot of us feel as far as the old school battle rap and transition into what it is today. That's what it all started. It was just a bunch of crews come together, compete. Of course, it all started out of gang stuff. Back then it was gangs fighting, and it transitioned to the music. So you compete, see who's the best, get the bragging rights, get the girls, get whatever comes with it, and that's how that all started out. So it was actually in fun and good spirit of competitiveness, if I
Okay.
would say.
That's awesome. All right, post 1995, 97, that kind of era. What are you doing after that with B-side?
Like I said, I've been again. It's still to me it's still about the local people, and if I'm going to do it, it's going to be local. Or to me, it's nothing at all. I'm not looking to get a big star and run out there and make a bunch of money. I've been doing other stuff in the meantime. So this year would be my last year, probably on my project I'm working on. I'll tell you about that another time. And 2026 should be the opening of coming back and putting a few things out there. Like I said, there's a couple people in the UK that's trying. I mean, the European that's trying to get this EP and all the stuff from Mad Vibes, and they contact me. They're contacting Mike. At some point, me and Mike got to have a conversation to see where is this going to actually go and end up be, which would be good for, I believe, for Tay Woss. So
Right.
let him benefit for whatever it is, because he probably needs it more than Mike or myself. So
That's
that
awesome.
conversation needs to happen. So in the future, we're looking to probably drop something out there.
Where is everyone today? Like some of the names that you've brought up, are they still doing music themselves or have they moved on to other things?
The Force MCs, of course, the Force MCs. They're the Force MDs.
Right.
Uh, they're still out there. I mean, I'm going to name the big people. Then I'll go small. The Force MCs, Terrible T's out there somewhere. He's still DJing. Like I said, Scotty O and the Imperial 3 MCs from New Haven. Scotty O's a NAACP and works for the government, that type of thing. So people have elevated to jobs and taking care of families and that type of stuff,
Okay.
more or less.
I gotcha. What's your opinion on like music scene today? I think a lot of people are nostalgic for some of the records and some of the music that came out in the 90s. What do you think music's at today?
Uh, it's a little tricky. I mean,
It's hit and miss?
it's it's hit and miss. I mean, the generation and the music is changing. It's I think for me, and I don't want to say anything wrong to disrespect anybody. I think for me, it switched over when it became, I guess the word they use, not me, mumble rap. Like you can just say anything and people don't understand what you're saying and all that.
Right.
I come from the area where you were a lyricist and you understood everything you said and what you're saying and how were you going. I mean, Lamar is that type of person where you can understand what it is. Black Thought, somebody like that, you can understand what they're saying and has a meaning behind it and that type of thing. So when the mumble rap came in, it kind of made me like stay where I'm at. I guess it kind of make you stuck because you stay in that position where you're at, where you understand it at, and you don't move forward. But there's times I try to move forward with the new generation, but it just didn't
Right.
make sense to me.
Just didn't
Yeah,
vibe with it. No, that makes sense.
yeah.
No, I was going to say I was the same way. And one of the reasons why Riches to Rags made such an impression on me is like it's the story um, in the music. Do you think, in a sense, it's gotten more, I don't want to say commercialized because it's always been a business, but this ambition to like make the place that you're from kind of like a place to be reckoned with? That seems like it's kind of gone away. Would you
I,
agree with that?
I think it became more. I want to use the word manufactured, fake, not real, not realistic. People can say, I guess you fake it till you make it. You can say whatever you want to say. Then till you make it, then you got it over there. So it became those hard growings, bringing it up, living hard, rough, barely eating. One person, one mother home, just trying to survive to eat, and it's that was a more realistic thing. I'm not saying it's there now, but people tend to fake it more now than back then. Before, if you were saying you were poor and hungry, you were poor and hungry. You just didn't run around and say you're poor and hungry. Nobody wants to say, "Hey, I'm poor and hungry,"
Right.
and I come from this type of thing. So now it's like, "Hey, I'm poor and hungry." Like, I guess the example would be Michael Irvin's son, where he came out and said, "Hey, he's this type of gangster rapper, this, that." And Michael Irvin gets up there. Are you kidding me? You live in the suburbs. You come from, so you
Right.
don't know now.
I
So you
grew up.
don't know. You don't know now what it really is. So
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
difference.
maybe you grew up in the shitty part of Beverly Hills, you know?
That's what he was trying to say.
What's your opinion on social media? And in your response, maybe you could touch on sort of how you did promotion before and your view on how it's changed and where it's at now.
That's what it is. The radio station, newspaper. I didn't do word of mouth. It's like the back. You go in the trunk, pull out the records, and you do what you gotta do. And that was the hustle and the grind of those days. It's no difference than uh, from back when I grew up. When you got the mixtapes that came in from New York, you buy the mixtapes, and it's the same area. That's how we became like part of New York's arm of the branch of the hip hop.
Right.
And so tapes, and they hand to hand, and like I said, we had the relatives there, and they'll come up in the weekends and they're playing the stuff. And you're like, where is this coming from? And you know, so
Yeah.
those are the connections.
Do you think it gave artists more longevity? Because with social media, I feel like people's attention span has just gone down the drain. So before, like, you had to really care about an artist if you went to a parking lot and actually bought their CD from a trunk, versus now on Spotify, it's easy to click on something, fast forward. Do you think some of the new technology has not helped with the longevity of artists or made it more difficult?
I do believe that, and I would say that even now with AI, it's probably going to get worse because you ain't going to know who's real, who's fake anymore, who's anything. So I
Right.
think it's going to get worse. But that physical relationship of understanding people, artists, what they think, how they feel at the time, or what they possibly even going through, it's definitely had I think a different impact for us the longevity and what we have now. Absolutely.
Yeah, because in some sense, that's sort of how the more manufactured stories come about, is that they're hard to verify.
I want to say the Vanilla or the Weather Girls,
Right.
where people
Really vanilla. Yeah.
people are faking it and they got the wrong people there. You can catch it then because it will come to a time where you had to get to the mic and you had to do something. If the sound check didn't go right, oops, you're caught out. So
Right.
you can catch it then. Now, like I said, we'll be I'm gonna skip because I don't want to give you the whole thing yet. So let me stop. That's peachy. That was one of this is one of the collaborations we're doing.
Man,
Some of the
thank you
stuff we were
for
doing. This is
thank you for
this is
sharing that.
'97 stuff. So
That's awesome. Okay. Any advice? Any advice to people in the business or wanting to get started? What would you say?
depends on which part you're coming from. Whether you're the record label, whether you're the DJ, whether you're the producer, whether you're the MC, sit down and have a talk and see where you want to go before you start heading down that road. Because I think a lot of people at times don't understand the business side or understand what's going on, and they assume like you've seen it out there with Mace and Cameron. They believe that there was a whole bunch of money and this, that, and the other, and it never really exists. Or when he got the bag came so late that the damage was already done.
Right.
And people believe that you're getting these bags that don't exist or they don't understand what goes on. You know, like you said, as far as the record labels, they get paid everything before you even see anything. So to sit down and have a conversation and see where it's going. And if you're not on the business side, then get somebody who can understand the business side for you, and sit down and have a before you go into a contractual agreement, understand what's going on. That's the best I can get, instead of assuming or perceiving or speculating that there's something there that's not there.
Right. It feels like in many instances there might even be like theft of some kind or not getting paid for work that you've done. So, are there ways that artists can protect themselves against that?
The number one way I guess they would say out there is you perform an audit. You audit the companies, and there's MCs that have been out there. Once they perform the audit, they've discovered that there's money, this, that, and the other. So you always protect yourself with doing the audit. If you're going to sign to a label, you have yourself an audit done, and it'll tell you where your money's going and how it's spent, whether they owe you something or not. That's how you protect yourself.
Right.
But when you sit down, knowing who you're dealing with, even if your attorney or your agent or somebody, you got to be careful what they might do to you, because there's stories behind those where those people have been, unfortunately, ripping people off.
Yeah, there's been instances I think where like the label hires the lawyer that acts on behalf of the artist to look through the contract and vet it
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So there's a lot of
yeah. I mean, the saying we had back in the days was, you signed a contract for boxer Newport in a Puma sweatsuit. That was the lyrics from one of the things. So
right. That's funny.
tell you signed the contract. It's in one of those songs. I forget which song it is, but that type of stuff was going on. But it was back then. It was more or less people didn't care because they were there for the love and the craft, and it was culturally motivating. This is what we was doing, and you brought your A game.
Right. Do you think people have gotten more educated on the business side, or are you still kind of seeing the same mistakes?
History's repeating itself because people aren't learning from it. So yeah, there's mistakes being made out there, absolutely. And
Okay.
as we go more and less to streaming and all this, it's even less now. People are getting even, it's not even worth. I think streaming has more or less took it to a different direction and different road versus having the actual records in your hand and this, that, and the other. It's definitely taking down a different road. You're getting pennies on whatever you're getting pennies on pennies now for where you sold 1 million before. You get a good portion of the finances. Now you sell 1 million over there. You got to sell even like 30 million just to get anything out of it. So
Right.
streaming to me has hurt it more of the business side of it.
Has the return of
For the artist.
vinyl helped?
Oh, return to vinyl would be great. Oh, return to vinyl was it. That's the old school hip hop way. Vinyls and touching it and being able to do what you want to do with the record, and actually, it's that's that instrument that's missing out of hip hop. Even with the new technology of the computer and having it up there, that's still not the same as going into a battle. You got 30 crates of records. You got to put them on one at a time. You got your routine going on, and the DJ better get it right, or your whole show is gone. It's it's
Right.
like it's like being on TV live. Can't mess it up. That's
Right.
the difference. That energy is different than any other energy I've ever seen. You had to be on point all the time. You had to rehearse. You had to practice. You had to do all the stuff, and which kind of made you bond and get together. And you hung out all day or night. You put the time in. You sacrifice. The dedication was there, and the willingness to follow through. That was definitely there.
That's awesome.
Or if not, you would have been a flop.
Okay. As a final question, what music do you listen to today? Who's someone that people should check out?
You're asking the wrong person.
I think that might be a good way to end it.
Yeah, you actually the wrong person. Like I said, it's kind of hard. You listen to, that's like having a basketball team. You want to root for the Bulls, but technically I don't like Michael Jordan, so I'm not really rooting
Right.
for the Bulls. So it's like the same thing with music. You'll pick and choose a song here and there. It's not like you're going for. It's not like I'm sitting down listening to somebody's whole album this time. If anything, it's going to go backwards.
I
It's going to go
got you,
back in
man.
time.
I got you. Fair enough. Okay. Well, again, a huge thank you for doing this, because the fact that we're able to do this after just a week or two of interacting is very kind of you.
Yeah,
So thank you.
yeah. I would love to get back and have all three of us up here, if possible, one day to see, so you can pull all the questions out and see what really happened with the story while we're all there live in person.
I hope I hope that happens. That would be awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
like I said, they want this EP out there, so we'll see what happens.
I'm very lucky that that you responded. So I hope we can
It's a
stay in
pleasure, man.
touch.
Thank you for having me out here. Hopefully, I was able to give you what you need to get. If you need to come back and do a retake again, maybe I'll have time to let things settle in. But like I said, I got one more year of this program that I'm working on, and it's starting next week actually. So we'll see what happens.